duceți-vă și faceți ucenici din toate neamurile, botezându-i în numele Tatălui și al Fiului și al Sfântului Duh și învață-i să păzească tot ce v-am poruncit. Și iată că eu sunt cu voi în toate zilele, până la sfârșitul veacului. Amin. We are Daniel and Georgiana Akins. We are missionaries here in Brasov, Romania, and we've actually been here for 13 years now. And it's been quite a journey how God got us to this point. But to make a long story short, Georgia and I met in Bible college in Iowa. And before that, I had probably heard of Romania but didn't know much about it. And when I met her and began to hear her story, I was quite amazed. Georgiana was born in Romania, and when she was about 5 years old, at the end of the 80s, her parents escaped out from under communism and fled with the family to California. So she grew up in California. But when communism ended, her parents were rare in the sense that they were some of those Romanians who began to come back and visit Romania. And so they would come here and invest their time and their resources in the summer to come and visit orphans and share the love of Jesus with kids who were in the AIDS hospital. There was a big epidemic of AIDS because of needles that were being shared in the hospitals in that time. And so they would come in the summer and do outreach for children and share the love of Jesus with them. And when I met Georgie, we were in college. I was studying missions, but had no idea where God would lead us. And then we began doing music ministry together. We were touring with a band called The Ineloquent, and that's actually what brought us to Blaze for the first time as we were coming through on tour, and Pastor Carlos and Pastor Rudy and others opened the door for us to come and share our music ministry, and we built a long-standing friendship that we visited many times and have great memories of those years. And during that time we were looking at my parents-in-law as a really good example for us, because they were showing us the life of missionaries. Even though they weren't full-time missionaries, they were just working hard. Her father in construction, her mother was a school teacher, and they were just working and then coming in the summer and pouring out love and the gospel into the lives of kids here in Romania. And so during our years of touring, we would support them and give them some financial help to come here. And I remember in 2006, I handed my father-in-law an envelope and said, "This is for the trip, this is for the ministry." And he pushed it back towards me and said, "Buy a ticket and come and see." So we did. We took him up on the offer and we came and visited Romania. Georgie hadn't been here since the early 90s. And so we came in 2006, we came in 2010, just for a few weeks, but it was enough for us to see how beautiful Romania is and how amazing the people are, and to see the needs, a culture that needs to hear the gospel and people that need to be exposed to the love of Jesus. And it was an open door for us and a seed that was planted. And we were still touring at the time and really seeking the Lord. But in 2013, the door opened for us to come here, and we decided to try it. We put it before the Lord and came here for a year. And after that first year, we really prayed about it and committed to a second year. And after that second year, we kind of just stopped negotiating and said, "Okay, Lord, we're going to stay here until you make it clear that we're supposed to go somewhere else." And so now that 1 year has turned into 13 years and we're still here. We have 2 boys that were born here. Elijah's 9 years old and Isaiah's 4 years old. And so it's a pleasure and a joy to do ministry here and pour our lives out for the sake of people being exposed to the good news of the gospel and the love of Jesus here. And so we don't know how long we'll be here, but we hold things with an open hand, and every day thank God for the blessing it is to be here in Romania and see how beautiful this place is. And I think the team that came from Blaze got to experience a little bit of that, and to see how sweet the people are, and to see some of the needs, and to see the openness for the gospel. And so I pray that this is an open door for many trips to come.
So I wasn't familiar with Romania at all, or the Roma people. We had this connection with the missionaries there, and so just having the opportunity to serve with them and knowing about their ministry was exciting, and that God was already at work through them. And so we could kind of join what he was doing there. And so that just connection was appealing and encouraging for us to go. And then when I learned about the Roma people, I was encouraged to serve a population that is so overlooked and looked down upon. Even pastors in Romania sometimes decide not to serve and love upon. It was just a really great opportunity for me to get out of my comfort zone and to serve people that I never even knew about before. So we take a mission trip with our youth group every summer, and the purpose in them is always to provide our students with an opportunity to grow in their faith, to do hard things, to be in uncomfortable places, and to just learn how to trust the Lord and do hard things. And it also gives our students a really good opportunity to grow in their relationship with each other and to bond. And so that's kind of the main point of our mission trips that we take every year. And going all the way to Romania, we were really just hoping to give our students an opportunity to experience a very different culture. And again, just an opportunity to trust God and be stretched and see someplace very different and serve people that they haven't had the opportunity to serve before.
The team came and served with us in the region where we live, which is the city of Brasov, which is about 400,000 people. It's in the middle of Romania in a geographical region which is actually called Transylvania. So Transylvania is a real place. It's a geographical region, just like you guys would say that you're in the Southwest. We say we're in Transylvania, which is pretty cool. And so that's the part of Romania that we were serving in. It's officially in Eastern Europe. And as I mentioned previously, it's an Orthodox nation. So that means that the majority of people would say that they are Orthodox Christian, although religiously it's more of a title. They were baptized as a baby, and that's what makes them a Christian. And so most of them aren't involved in church, but even if they are, they don't believe that they have the authority to read or understand the Bible. Many of them have Bibles, but it's more of a superstitious symbol on the bookshelf that they don't think they have the authority to read. They have to hear from the priest about it. So they have to go through the church, to go through the priest, to go through all these steps and confession and all this kind of stuff to get to God. And so there's a great need here in the mission field of just being a light and exposing the true gospel, that we can have a relationship with God directly through Jesus. And so every person has that need here. Specifically, we were serving, and the team from Blaze came to serve with us with the children in the Roma community, which is a more common term would be the Gypsy community. And that's a community that is really not looked upon with great favor here. There's a lot of racism here towards the Roma community. They do tend to live in poverty. They do tend to be known for stealing and crime, and for having tons of kids. And so in the region where we were serving was a Gypsy village, and so tons of kids, and that's where the Agape Center is. And that's the purpose, is to reach that community and that people group with the love of Jesus, starting with the kids, and through that serving the entire community. And so that's the region where we are, and that's the people group that Blaze came to serve with us. And Romania is part of the European Union as of recently. So socially and economically, we are part of Europe, part of the European Union, although it's one of the poorer nations in the European Union. And as the team saw, there's quite a big contrast here. You can go see the Gypsy village and it's one thing, and then you walk into the mall and it's a brand new mall and nicer than most malls in America anymore. And so it's like this kind of shock of these two worlds that collide right in the middle of the city and everything in between. And so it's a pretty interesting cultural experience to see all of that, that there's an upper class, there's a middle class, and there's definitely a lower class. And so you can see all of that within the same amount of time in just a short drive. And so it's an interesting culture for sure. And I think the team did a great job of balancing that culture shock and loving on the unloved and being a light to people that aren't usually even given a second look. So it was a beautiful thing to see that, and it was a joy having them come and serve in this particular people group with us in this particular region of Transylvania, Romania. I'll also mention that in the city where we are, in Brasov, there are less than 2% evangelical Christians, what we would call evangelical Christians. So that would be people who believe in the authority of the Bible, people who would consider themselves to be born again. And so it's less than 2%. So there's an uphill battle that we have to do of working with people. Some of them are pretty strongly rooted in their Orthodox traditions. And so those discussions are hard. The majority of people that you talk to on the street, if you say, do you believe in God? They'll say, yes. Do you believe in Jesus? Yes. Do you believe in the Bible? Yes. Do you know if you're going to have eternal life? And they'll say, no, you can't know. It's you have to have good works. You have to be a good person. Your good deeds have to outweigh your bad deeds. And you have to have people pray for you after you die so that you can get out of purgatory and all this kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of obstacles here to the true gospel. And so it's an uphill battle, especially in our region. It's an unreached part of Romania in that sense. There's other parts of Romania that are more like the Bible Belt. Of course, over there it's still small. It's like only 12% evangelical or born-again Bible-believing Christians. But in our region in particular, here in Transylvania, there's a very, very low percentage of people who are Bible-believing and born-again. Dar lucrurile acestea au fost scrise pentru că voi să credeți că Iisus este Hristosul, Fiul lui Dumnezeu, și crezând să aveți viață în numele Lui. It was such a joy and an honor to have the team from Blaze join us for the week, and really our biggest desire and expectation going into it was that we just want people to fall in love with Romania, and more importantly than that, we want people to fall in love with the Romanian people and the Roma people, and to see these wonderful people here as people that need a savior, people that need hope and that need joy like the rest of us. And we, as born-again believers, know that that hope and that joy comes from a relationship with Jesus. And so that was our biggest anticipation and expectation, was we just want to introduce a team to Romanians and Romania, and even how good the food is. And I think they experienced all of that. I think there's definitely some culture shocks and some things that are majorly different here as opposed to in the States. But I think that each person on the team was able to walk away challenged by what they saw here and some of the things that they saw, and maybe it was different for many, but I think one of the most impactful things was just going to the center for the teen moms, the babies, and seeing those two precious little girls that had been abandoned by their mom and left there, and the mom probably won't come back, and they'll probably end up in the orphanage. And so some of the members of the team were able to hold them, play with them, and interact with them, and give them attention and show them love. And that's a pretty impactful thing. Others were able to go into the hospital and hold babies in the hospital and sort through donations, and just seeing kids in that state, knowing that some of them have parents, some of them don't, is a pretty impactful thing. And then I think when we did the Vacation Bible School and that gate opened and you just see all those kids running in, excited to get some attention. It's not necessarily that they're coming in because they are excited about the activities or the candy. That's part of it. But when you saw their joy coming in, they ran straight to the teens, and they ran straight to the adults, and they just wanted high fives and they wanted hugs. And many of them, I'm sure, at home don't get invested in, and they don't get spoken into their lives much value or worth, especially in the Roma community. There's a lot of racism here towards them as a group, as a people group, and so they don't get a lot of positive attention from society. And so to have a group here that's dedicated to playing with them and teaching them and being patient with them and feeding them, and it was challenging for sure to keep them under control and to keep them paying attention, and but it was beautiful to see the Blaze team just interacting with these kids, even with the language barrier, and sometimes the translator wasn't on hand, but just the international language of attention and love, and those kids just ate it up. And so I think that made a big impact on the teens, just seeing on the team, just seeing how excited the kids were to have somebody smile at them and somebody tell them that they're loved and somebody tell them that they're valuable, even though they smelled bad, even though they were dirty, even though they wore the same clothes every single day of the whole week. The Blaze team was just there, arms wide open, to give them big hugs and have patience with some of the ones that were a little bit more challenging and a little more difficult, and I think that made a big impact, and just an opportunity to see people who live differently, people who don't have all the privileges that we're used to having in America, and people that live in a neighborhood where there's probably not very many indoor bathrooms at all. Most of them have a little outhouse in the yard, and so it was a different reality and a bit of a culture shock, but I think it impacted the team, and I think it really just spiritually encourages us, because we're all like that before the Lord. We're all dirty and smelly and don't have a lot of value, but he looks at us and he opens his arms wide and runs to us and welcomes us and embraces us. And I think that's a beautiful picture of what the team was able to see when we were serving in the village at the VBS. And then one of the best things that I alluded to earlier was that we were able to just transform that center for the teen moms into a place of beauty and joy, instead of that drab, kind of depressing concrete, almost looks more like a prison, to transform it. And the team did such a great job of casting vision, and there were people pulling out grass, and there were people ripping apart benches and painting benches and repairing benches, and there were people painting, and just some beautiful vision for painting the walls and making a joyful mural, and others cleaning up. And they were even on their hands and knees. About half the team for half a day were on their hands and knees just scraping weeds out of the middle of the sidewalk, and so that it looks like a beautiful place again. And I don't think we'll ever fully realize the impact that can have on the kids that are there, the kids that have been neglected and abandoned, and now have a beautiful place to be outside and to play. And maybe even for the mothers who couldn't stand to be there in that drab environment and maybe ran away because it felt like a prison, but now there's a cute park there and there's a place for the kids to play. And we don't know the impact that can have of maybe convincing a mom to stay and to be a mom and to stick it out, even though they're young and they're teenagers and they have their whole life ahead of them, that they can do this, and the best thing for that baby is to stay with the baby. And so I was so proud of the team. And I think one of the things that stuck out to Georgie and me was that there was no complaining. They came, they were tired, they were jet lagged. We worked them hard. The first day we just dug right in with shovels and construction and paints, and it was hard work. And I didn't hear a single complaint, not from the youngest to the oldest. Everybody was just a positive attitude, eager to jump in, eager to serve. And the same was true when we did the Vacation Bible School. It was amazing to see people just jump in and clean before and prepare sandwiches for the kids and hand out sandwiches and hand out water, and full of tons of patience and patience with the translators. And we had a great time, and I was really, really thankful for the group and there was just no complaining. And so really, really proud of the group. I think there's so many moments that are going to stick with different people for different reasons. Beautiful stories, beautiful interactions with the kids. So many, they love to wrestle with the boys, they love to braid the girls' hair, they love to play silly games, and so some of those things are just going to stick with this team. And so it was really cool to see how God worked in both the practical project and the hands-on project with the kids, and then the other groups that were able to go into the hospital and hold the babies. And I think it was just overall a really impactful thing that none of us will probably ever know the fruit that'll come, the investments that were made in these kids, but it was an amazing opportunity to just show the practical love of Jesus to a group of people that usually don't receive any love, usually don't receive any positive attention, don't receive any encouragement. And so to just be here for this time and to pour out love and attention on them, I think is going to have a greater impact for the kingdom than any of us will ever know. It was a beautiful week together.
The last day of VBS, we did kind of an overall gospel presentation, and we wanted to show the kids just the entirety of Jesus' life, how he was born as a baby with the intention of going to the cross and rising from the dead that we could be saved. And so that day, it's funny because it was the last day, so I felt probably the most confident out of all the days in terms of how I would work with the interpreter, what I wrote on the board, what the activities were. And so we did this really powerful presentation where you put a vase of plain water, and that's supposed to represent you and I and just the average human. And then you have iodine and bleach. And so you show by putting the iodine in the water how we're born, we're created, I should say, because of course we're born with sin now, but Adam and Eve were created without sin, they were perfect. And then when sin entered the world, you put the iodine in the water, and you see how the water just gets dirty, and just representing how our sin affects us. And then the bleach water you add, and you show how because of Jesus, when Jesus died on the cross, he took all our sin away. And then you put the bleach in the water, and the iodine evaporates, and the kids are so excited, and they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. So it's this really great demonstration, and it seemed to be going really well. And I picked up the vase to move it, and it snapped out of my hands and fell on the ground, and water was everywhere, and it's bleach water, so I was freaking out about messing up everyone's clothes. And so that was already distressing enough, and I honestly felt like I totally screwed up and I was a big failure and messing up this whole message. And Angelique was cleaning and trying to get all the water off the ground while I was continuing to share with the students. Romans 10:9 was our main verse for that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And we were calling the students to give their life to Jesus and asking them, like, do you believe that? Can you profess that with your mouth? And they were doing that, and it was amazing. And then I looked over, and Angelique had cut her elbow, and she cut it deep. I think I saw bone. And so that made me even more stressed out, and she's trying to wrap it up. And so she had to leave and go to the hospital, and there's just all these implications in my mind of what the hospital looks like in Romania, what the cost is going to be. And what's amazing is that through that, the Lord provided an opportunity to share with these kids not only the gospel, but that living with Jesus for the rest of your life doesn't mean that you'll be without pain or you'll be without hardship. And so using Angelique as an example, that she was at the hospital and she was bleeding and she was hurting and she was alone in a country where she didn't know the language, but Jesus was with her. And I was so thankful because I wouldn't have thought to share that with these kids who, even if they give their life to Jesus or they gave their life to Jesus, they might be still going home to very dark situations and abuse and substance abuse and who knows what. And so I'm thankful that the Lord provided that, and hopefully the kids will know whatever trials they face now, that once you give your life to Jesus, it doesn't mean that you're going to have this perfect trial-free life, but when you do face trials, God's with you.
Încrede-te în Domnul din toată inima ta și nu te bizui pe înțelepciunea ta. Recunoaște-L în toate căile tale și El îți va netezi cărările. Guys, Georgiana and I, and our kids, Elijah and Isaiah, want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the encouragement that you brought to us. It was an amazing week with this team. We loved getting to know every single person, and we're thankful that we had so much time with you guys to be able to get to know you guys and be in all kinds of situations, whether it was serving the kids or digging out grass or painting, getting covered in paint, not being able to get the paint off, visiting the castles, visiting the hospitals. It was an amazing week, and we were so joyful for the joy that you brought to our kids. They had one of the best weeks of their lives, I think, definitely the best week of their summer. Was just getting to interact with all of you guys, and you're all so kind to them, and it was really a highlight for our boys to get loved on and invested in, and so we really appreciate that. All the thoughtful gifts you brought us and the things from America that we missed. And we want to say thank you not just to those who came and encouraged us and served alongside with us shoulder to shoulder in the battlefield here, but we want to say thank you to Blaze as a church for your support of us, for your prayer support over these years, for your financial support over these years. You've always been a great encouragement to us, and this was an amazing dream come true to have a team come from Blaze and see Romania and fall in love with Romania. And so we want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for preparing all the funds and sending this team, and for those parents that sacrificed and sent your kids and invested in this trip for your kids. And I know it was a ton of work for many people and a huge effort by so many to prepare this and to get all the ducks in a row and to come here and get it done. And so we, for one, are so thankful. I know that Mada and Sarah and Steffi from Foundations Romania have expressed their thanks to you guys, and all who funded and who sent the team, for everything that you guys did at the Agape Center, and for all those kids who came, and the love that you showed, the preparation that you put in, your servants' hearts, and your literal lack of complaining was amazing. Alina from the Center for Teen Moms and Babies is just overwhelmed with what we were able to accomplish in a short period of time, and the generosity that went into providing those supplies, because that's not something that she would have had access to or been able to get. And so she was overwhelmed with joy. I think you guys saw that. The quilts that were prepared that are going to go out to the babies that had a verse on them and an encouraging message. Incredible stuff. She was so thankful for those, and I know that those are going to be a blessing for the babies and the kids and the mothers going forward. And so thank you to all who invested. Thank you for all who prayed, who supported us in prayer and battled with us in prayer that whole week for protection and for safety and for people to be protected and stuff to not get lost. And really, it was an incredible week, and could not have happened without the generosity of the saints and the investment that you guys have made and that those from Blaze made into sending this team. And so we are so thankful for everybody who contributed financially, through prayer, through thinking of us, through sending candy, through sending quilts, through all of that stuff. It just came together as such a beautiful week, and we are so thankful for all of you guys.
Thank you so much to everyone who donated to us, and I can't tell you how much your support, not only financially, but just your encouragement and your heart and your excitement for us and your prayers. It means everything, and know that your money made a huge difference. It was multiplied greatly, And it made a lasting impact, not only in Romania and the kids we served there, in the yard that was transformed there, that will be there for years to come to be a happy, enjoyable place for moms who are kicked out of their home with their babies, and hopefully they'll stay and be with their children now when they were leaving in the past or abandoning their babies there. But also you changed the life of the 18 of us who went. And you have 18 people now that are on fire and ready to serve more and ready to do more missions. And you just gave us the chance to see things we've never seen before and to get out of our comfort zone. And I can't thank you enough for your support. And you can pray for the people there. Pray that the Lord would break just the generational bondage of the Roma people. It is a very dark and hard life that they live. And it's a level of poverty I've never seen before. And it's very humbling and very convicting. And so pray that God would just use Firm Foundations Romania, that they would have more means from all over the world, that people would donate to them and support them. So they have the ability to provide for these kids and just the supplies and the food and the clothes that they need. Pray for the people ministering there, that they will have what they need for their own families. Pray for their families and their marriages. Pray for opportunities for them. In Romania, there's only 1% of the population is evangelical Christian. And so you can be praying for Daniel and Georgie that do all kinds of ministry in Romania beyond just working with these children, that the Lord would work through them to grow the church there. You can pray for their church there that we were able to visit. They have more children in that church than adults. You could pray for those children to grow up and be ministers around them to everyone there. You could invest in these kids, again, through sponsoring them, and then you have a direct connection with someone that you can be praying for regularly and in touch with. So those are just some of the things you could do. But again, just thank you all so much.
I don't know if this will go in the final thing, but I just want to say how amazing Laura was on this mission trip. She and before too, she did so much for us, and it was just an incredible, it was so incredible to see her and just her faithfulness for this this mission, this trip that was just so, I always call it like a God dream, there's no way that it could have been done without God. And just to see her her faithfulness through it, and just trusting nope, we're just going to show up for we're going to show up to the next fundraising and the next thing, and we're going to keep asking and asking until we have enough, and we had enough. And I think just how remarkable that is, and what a testament it is to God's goodness that we were able to go on this trip, because I'm sure so many people were is it really going to happen? We should just go for something smaller. But just Laura's faithfulness to her belief that God will make this happen, and it happening.
Binecuvântat să fie omul care se încrede în Domnul și a cărui nădejdea este Domnul. Căci el este ca un pom sădit lângă ape, care își întinde rădăcinile spre râu, nu se teme de căldură când vine și frunzișul lui rămâne verde. În anul secetei nu se teme și nu încetează să aducă rod.
Iubirea ta este atât de mare, plină e inima mea, să te cunosc în a ta splendoare, este dorința mea. Iubirea ta este atât de mare, plină e inima mea, să te cunosc în a ta splendoare, este dorința mea. Roa zorilor, pesta nopților, înălțim de munți și în adânc de mări, până la marginile pământului se vede bunătatea lui. Domna minunilor, puternic creator, tu spui doar un cuvânt și totul e nou. Domna minunilor, puternic creator, raptor, tu spui doar un cuvânt și totul e nou. Hey! Iubirea ta este locul din